Hey YouTube, welcome to my channel where we discuss how to become the best version of yourself and find true inner peace and happiness. We are going into self-esteem continued, but before I talk about that, I honestly want to have a quick giggle. So I showed one of my friends my first video that I posted on here, and she was like, "What's with the sad, depressing music?" And it was so funny because honestly, I go through Apple Music, so I was trying to look up like motivational music. I couldn't actually find anything on the Apple Store that I truly deemed to be motivational music. This is pretty much as close as I got. And when I used iMovie for the first time to lay that music on top, a lot of the music I was finding I couldn't even use. So I went back and I tried to find something else, and I basically came up with that little piano bit. I don't know. I just thought that was so funny. I was like, you're totally right. It makes my video seem like way more dramatic than it was supposed to be. So I'm sorry for that funny story. I just I don't want it to be like some like sob story video. I truly just want everybody to find a reason to elevate their lifestyles, whether it's to become the best mother, the best father, the best friend, whatever have you. So bear with me while I'm doing my makeup. I'm trying to get ready for work. I'm finding it hard to find time to create these videos, but it's like I'm learning so much every single day. I want to be able to post almost every single day. And I feel like this is my only way that I'm genuinely going to be able to do that, is if I make these videos when I'm getting ready for work. Okay, so self-esteem. Let's get into it. I want to talk about self-esteem versus confidence. Because it's funny, even when I talk to like people that I'm really close to, everybody seems to get this confused. Confidence is actually a measure of faith in one's abilities. So I'm confident in my ability to plan events and parties. I'm confident in the way that I handle certain situations with certain people. I'm confident about my looks because of my fashion and beauty interests and backgrounds. It's things like that. Self-esteem goes a lot deeper. Like, it's honestly about our sense of self. And so while our confidence is measuring our abilities, our self-esteem kind of involves both your thoughts and your emotions. It's more like your core foundations of beliefs. And as I've mentioned to you before, these core foundations, these beliefs, a lot of it was built in our subconscious, which was built before the age of 7. So our self-esteem honestly goes way back. This influences how we perceive others. It influences how we perceive ourselves, and it influences how we interact with the world around us. So self-esteem is a big deal. Ergo, self-esteem does lead to confidence. Confidence does not lead to self-esteem. Let me say that again. Self-esteem, like good self-esteem, will lead to more self-confidence. It'll become something we can measure. Low self-esteem goes deeper. Confidence does not lead to self-esteem. We don't measure backwards quite like that. All right, so esteem was our ability to believe in ourselves as children. Super harmless interactions with our caregivers kind of shaped the way that we view ourselves and others, right? So it's that whole like, look, mom, look what I could do. Look what I made. Enjoy this with me. I need attention right now. And the mom's busy, so she just kind of brushes it off. So as a child, that kind of shatters your confidence in yourself, and you're like, but I took a whopping 3.5 minutes to make this. How dare you not like it, woman? If you're an infant and you're laying in your urine and you're hot and you're sweaty, you can't talk to anybody, you don't know how to process these things, you can't take care of yourself, and your caregiver takes just like a little too long to come to you, you get angry and your sense of survival is threatened because you can't help yourself. So you develop a more like insecure attachment style. And attachment styles we'll get into in a different video, but it basically explains how you attach yourselves or don't attach yourselves to others, be it in relationships, your bosses, whatever have you. So another example would be like, you're in first grade and everybody's coloring books are finished and they look so much better than yours. So then you start telling yourself, I'm not as good as these kids. I'll never amount to anything. Like, you're so dramatic. The reason why you're so dramatic when you're a child, it's because your ego is huge. You're living more in the theta states, like your brain waves, to where as adults, we're more in like alpha beta. So we have more cognitive thinking, I guess. And you're able to shape your thoughts, minds, and emotions just a little bit more. Basically, kids need to be almost like embraced and validated. If they're not, then they start to build like abandonment issues and self-esteem issues. And in the adult life, this comes out in a couple of different ways. So your self-esteem, we're getting back to your core, and we're trying to figure out why you are the way that you are. That's what this video is about. So, and this is not a dig at any parents by any means. It's honestly impossible to prevent all of these things, because it's impossible to be able to nurture your child every single minute of every single day. Especially because like our parents and our grandparents, they were led to believe that you need to let an infant sit and cry for certain periods of times. Like, you can't go to them every single time, because it's going to create this like sort of spoiled mentality. I've been listening to Coach Margaret, and she's explained this in a way that makes honestly a lot more sense to me. Your baby infant brain doesn't actually work that way. Like, you can't process things on that level when you're an infant, because you rely 100% on your caregivers. As you grow with time, that percentage obviously drops, because you start to rely on your caregivers less and less and less and less. So from the ages of like infancy to being a toddler, like when you're like 3 years old, that's the time when there's actually no such thing as over nurturing, because even one little instance of not being there for the child can have a huge impact on their mentality and the way that they think and feel about life. I remember reading about a study. I don't remember who this was, you guys. So if you watch this video and this triggers a memory for you, please link it below. Or if you know where this is coming from, link it. But I remember reading a study about an experiment that they did in China, where they put a bunch of babies on their backs to feed them with just the bottle, okay? And then they put another bunch of babies, I want to say it was 10 and 10, in the arms of a caregiver, where they were rocked and they were nurtured. These groups of babies grew up to be psychologically extremely different in a lot of negative ways. Like, the ones that were not nurtured tended to be more troublesome. And it was really sad, because when they would be toddlers and they would go out and play and then they'd hurt themselves, they wouldn't even like look up for their family member or somebody to caregive for them or to help them soothe. They would literally cry it out, which ended up turning out to be this whole, I don't need anybody, I'm extremely independent, screw all people, I don't want to attach to anybody. So this is really, really important, knowing this, because how we were treated as a baby plays a huge, 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 huge factor on who we are as people when we become adults. So the takeaway from basically all of what I'm saying is that your self-esteem does go back to infancy, but it's not something that is stuck there forever. You can absolutely start building and changing the way that you feel about yourself and others and the way you perceive the world. We're going to start to dig deeper into these things as time goes, but, you know, knowing this, we can kind of start almost retracing our steps and seeing why we feel the way that we feel, where this is genuinely coming from. And it just gives us more perspective and insights on how we can coach ourselves or become better people now and in this life. So this is where self-help, therapy, and kind of mental coaching comes in. It's time to rewire our negative mind that was built on that low self-esteem and kind of start developing ways to self-soothe. And when I say self-soothe, I go back to the toddlers. When we're an infant and we're 100% dependent on our parent, it's very different from when we're a toddler and we start actually developing ways to become a little more independent. These are the years, you know, when you're 3, 4, and 5, that it's vital for kids to start learning how to self-soothe and process emotions, thoughts, and behaviors, which is so funny. I really, really wish that there was like a class on parenting for people, because a lot of us don't even know how to do this for ourselves. But don't worry, I'm here to help you. So how to go into this like self-soothing kind of mindset. I've talked a lot about this on TikTok, but it's honestly getting back into your body. Awareness is a huge, very important word. You're going to hear me say it over and over and over and over, because it's important for your anxiety. It's important for your mental health and where you're at right now, especially with everything that's going on in the world. We're always so worried about other things, other situations, other people, that it starts to give us like an anxious feeling. And so I'm talking about my anxiety series on there. My name on there is Ms. Map, MIZZMAP. Go ahead and give me a follow. That way you can be right on top of your anxiety as well. But I do mention anxiety and self-esteem are best friends. So how you manage your anxiety, how you manage your self-esteem, you go back into the body. How do you do that? Well, you have 5 senses. Start relying on those 5 senses and start doing things that comfort and help you process through those 5 senses. So for instance, the next cup of tea that you have, if you want to learn to start self-soothing, drink your tea and think about exactly how warm and comforting it feels. Think about the smell and how it brings you a sense of peace. Feel the tea going down your throat, down into your body, and start to sense that warmth just moving throughout every limb. It starts getting carried around through your bloodstream, and that warmth ends up in your mind all the way down to your toes. You can do it with like your sight. You can look out into, I don't know, whatever's out your window. So like for me, I see these beautiful mountains, and some of them are covered in trees and snow, and others are a little more dry and barren, but the way that the light touches them is just so peaceful and so warming. So if you see where I'm going with this whole sense of self-soothing is honestly just getting back into your senses and being really hyper aware of what's going on with each sense. Doing this is going to stop that worrying. It's going to stop that beating yourself up. It's going to start building that trust and confidence in yourself. It's going to start helping you just honestly feel better. So that's pretty much it for today. Figure out ways that you can self-soothe and start rebuilding your sense of esteem now that you kind of know where it's coming from. Let me know if any of this has helped you. Let me know if you've got any questions or where you want to see me go with this in my next series for self-esteem. Have a good one.